You and your friends are coming to the latest information, the most notable current events on the YouTube channel of Nghe An Newspaper, the digital infrastructure of Nghe An Newspaper and radio and television. To know what the program is about today, please follow along below.
On September 28, Kremlin-Scope spokesman said that nuclear treaty negotiations should include the US, UK and France. Western countries possess atomic arsenals. He said that negotiations on reducing strategic nuclear weapons should first be conducted between Russia and the US. The nuclear weapons of the UK and France would eventually need to be included in the negotiations. Mr. Peskop's comments came in the context of the Kremlin proposal to the US in September that the two sides would voluntarily maintain for 1 year the limits on the number of deployed strategic nuclear weapons as stipulated in the New START Arms Control Treaty. After, the treaty expires in 2026 on the condition that the US does the same. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that Russian President Vladimir Putin's proposal sounded good, but it was up to US President Donald Trump. Mr. Trump has previously said he wants to open nuclear treaty talks with both Russia and China. Of course, we have to start negotiations at the bilateral level. However, in the long term, we cannot ignore the British and French arsenals, especially when they are part of the fabric of European security and global strategic stability, Peskov said. The New START Treaty, signed in 2010 by then-Presidents Barack Obama and Dmitry Medvedev, came into force a year later and was extended for another 5 years in 2021 after Joe Biden took office as U.S. President. In 2023, Putin suspended Russia's participation in the treaty, but Moscow said it would continue to adhere to the warhead limit. Russia and the U.S. currently possess the world's two largest nuclear arsenals. The New START Treaty limits deployed strategic nuclear warheads to 1,550 and the number of carriers, including missiles, submarines, and bombers, to 700. Each, France and Britain, which were never party to the New START Treaty or its predecessors, now have much smaller arsenals of between 250 and 300 warheads each. On 22, Tintas reported that Russia's new generation nuclear submarine Archangel of the 885M JASM project had successfully test-fired an ONIC cruise missile during exercises in the Barents Sea. The move is considered part of the process of improving the combat readiness of the Russian Navy. According to Tintas, the Northern Fleet said the Agagen submarine simulated an attack on a hypothetical enemy surface ship at a distance of about 200 kilometers from the underwater launch site. The ONIC missile was launched under simulated combat conditions and hit the target. The Northern Fleet confirmed that the entire exercise area had been temporarily blocked off from civilian vessels and flights were restricted to ensure safety. The control of the exercise area was carried out by the Kola Fleet's Integrated Brigade. Admiral Konstantin Kapansop, commander of the Northern Fleet, praised the Iranian crew for their professionalism and level of training at sea. He stressed that this exercise demonstrates the combat capabilities and proficiency in operating strategic weapons of the Russian Navy. Agagen is a Genmer M-class nuclear attack submarine built at
The Russian economy has also shown steady growth over the past few years, despite pressure from unprecedented Western sanctions. Its GDP is expected to grow by 4.1% in 2023 and 4.3% in 2024. Although growth is forecast to slow this year, the Russian economy is still expected to grow by 2.5%. Earlier, according to Reuters, in an interview with RBC Radio, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that President Donald Trump had heard President Volodymyr Zelensky's version of events. And clearly at this point, that version is the reason for the assessment that we just heard. Mr. Peskov confirmed that the Russian military is making progress in Ukraine, where he said they are advancing cautiously. Deliberately. Mr. Peskov also brushed aside President Trump's comment that Russia is a paper tiger, saying that Russia is a bear, not a tiger, and that there is no such thing as a paper bear. Mr. Peskov confirmed that Russia remains resilient. Russia maintains macroeconomic stability. It is true that Russia is experiencing some tensions and problems in many areas of the economy, which are inevitably linked to the numerous restrictions, sanctions and so on that we face and the global economic turmoil, not just the sanctions.
According to the British news agency Reuters, the KF has received more than 50,000 Starlink satellite internet terminals, and the Ukrainian forces use them for military communications, control of unmanned aerial vehicles in the air and at sea, and many other purposes. In combat, the Ukrainian forces can easily transfer data by connecting directly to Starlink. Satellite maps provide a panoramic view of the battlefield, thanks to which the KF forces can easily conduct multidimensional attacks. They can see the Russian army while the enemy cannot touch the Ukrainian soldiers. With Starlink internet, the Ukrainian forces can control UAVs to attack any designated place. For example, the flagship of the Russian Black Sea Fleet, the Moskva, was sunk by Ukrainian anti-ship missiles. In this way, it can be said that the support that Starlink brings to the Ukrainian forces can be compared with NATO weapons. Billionaire Elon M., the owner of the Starlink satellite internet system, believes that without access to satellites, Ukrainian forces will not have communication because the Russian army has strong electronic warfare capabilities and is jamming other communication channels. The U.S. publication iNews estimates that without Starlink, half of the current Ukrainian forces will not be able to connect with each other, either on the front line or deep in the rear. Facing the combat operations of Ukrainian forces supported by the Starlink satellite internet system. Initially, the Russian army considered attacking satellites. Unfortunately, this idea was completely useless. The reason is that billionaire Elon M.'s Starlink internet system has more than 5,000 satellites operating near the Earth, more than all the satellites in the world combined. Moreover, Mr. M also plans to launch 42,000 satellites. The question is, if one is sold off, Stalin will directly add 10 more, and how will Russia have enough missiles to shoot them all down? The bottom line is, Stalin is a decentralized network. If Russia destroys a few satellites, it will not affect the entire network. Just like if we cut a few network cables, the internet will still work. In this case, it does not matter whether Russia destroys them or not. Second, attacking Stalin's satellites is extremely expensive. For example, Russia's A-235PL-19 non-anti-satellite missile costs $30 million each, while a Stalin satellite costs only $500,000. This is clearly an ineffective economic calculation, and Russia will certainly not do it. The third and most important point is that the international impact is too great. If Russia were to shoot down a satellite, it would create a large amount of space debris, which could affect the International Space Station and a series of satellites of other countries, which would certainly cause global protests. Moreover, a direct attack on a U.S. satellite would be tantamount to a declaration of war. Destroying a satellite could escalate the conflict, potentially leading to Russia being surrounded by the entire NATO alliance. In this case, fighting would be less beneficial than harmful. It is because of the above factors that the Russian military has so far not attacked the Stalin satellite. So the question is, if they do not attack the Stalin satellite, how can they confront the Ukrainian forces? Can this situation be reversed? Russia's main answer is the Kalinka system to detect the Starlink satellite internet terminal. According to military experts, the Kalinka system combined with the lightning-fast Gold Village suicide UAV can immediately disable the Starlink terminal. Related sources even said that once the Starlink terminal at the Ukrainian location is turned on, the Kalinka system can monitor the signal and provide coordinates for weapons to destroy it. The question is whether this is really true. The Kalinka system is similar to a wiretapping device. When the Ukrainian Star terminal is turned on, it will continuously transmit signals, and the signal frequency band is mainly in the 868,870 MHz and 902,928 MHz bands. During this time, the Kalinka system uses a highly sensitive antenna to monitor these two radio frequency bands. But just receiving the signal is not enough, it needs to be located. At this time, at least 3 Kalinka devices must operate in different directions. They will receive signals emitted from the same terminal. By comparing the difference in time and intensity between the signals, the coordinates of the Starlink terminal can be calculated. In this case, the location of Ukraine's Starlink satellite internet will be exposed. According to experts, this triangular distance measurement method has a very small error, only less than 10 m, so the positioning is extremely accurate. The advantage of this device lies in the ability to spread the grid widely and focus on important points, because the Starlink signal is already encrypted. The Kalinka system does not directly decode this content but instead collects its electromagnetic signal. When 3 Kalinka stations are set up to form a triangular space array, the system can accurately determine the coordinates in real time. In addition to its strong reception ability, the Kalinka system also has the advantage of being compact and consuming little power, so it can scan continuously 24 hours a day. After the Kalinka system locks the coordinates of the Stalin station, it is time to mobilize the assassin. The Lightning Golden suicide UAV will fly straight to and carry out a target attack. The question is why Russia uses the Lancet suicide UAV in combination with the Kalinka system. Firstly, the Lancet UAV is cheap, only from $20,000 to $35,000, but has the ability to attack precisely, especially it operates constantly on the front line, so it is very flexible to attack valuable targets such as command posts and information centers. With a length of 1.5 m and a wingspan of 1.2 m, it is extremely difficult to detect and intercept. Besides, the small size is not the only outstanding factor, but also lies in the ability to operate smoothly. The Lancet UAV has a cruising speed of about 110 km per hour, but in the final phase when it dives straight into the target, its speed is up to 300 km per hour. Importantly, the quick reaction time when detecting Starlink targets. The Russian army can immediately launch the Lancet UAV to attack within a few minutes. Thus, through the pair of reconnaissance and attack, the Russian army has initially significantly reduced the combat effectiveness of the Starlink satellite internet system on the Ukrainian battlefield.